Okay. 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 Thank you. Hi guys. Today we all, sorry for the delay. Today we all gathered here to discuss about data service. If you able to see my screen, then comment yes in the comment section so that we can proceed with the session. Are you able to see my screen? Hello. Yeah, okay. Actually it is a bit delay, showing a bit delay. So let's start with our session. Data service. What is data service? In simple words, data service is nothing but database where we can store our data in a structured format in cloud. Here we no need to use any coding skills, no need to use any coding. In simple word, database is nothing but database where we can store our data in cloud in a structured format, where you can create relation database also using no coding required skills, and we can use that storage capabilities in our RPA projects. So we can go for data service. If you want to save any data in a structured format, instead of saving that particular data in text files or Excel files, we can use database. It is also easy to store data in data service. Instead of using database, it requires some cost to have a database in our companies like SQL or Oracle. So instead of going for the cost thing, let's go for free database which is provided by UiPath, that is nothing but data service. Here are some key components in data service: entities, fields, records and relationships. Entities are nothing but database and relation database. If you are aware of SQL databases or something, then you will be easily understood what is entities. Entities are nothing but data tables, which is a combination of columns and rows. Here we call in data service we call columns as fields. Fields are nothing but columns in relational database, and records as rows, and relationships as foreign key. Foreign key. If you want to create a relationship between two data tables, then we go for relationships and use this relationships concept. After then, why we have to go for data service? If you have, imagine you have data that are related to one another, two sets of data, more than two sets of data that are related to each other, then we have to relate to each other. Let me show you the sample data which I have created. If you see here, we have three fields: season, team, and state. And in the next sheet we have the data like won, loss, points. If you see, observe keenly, we have no relationship between these two sheets. If you want to relate these two sheets, these two data, I have to search for one unique thing and relate to each other. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this team column and paste it here. Then now it is relatable. So this is the relationship. What I have did now is I'm relating this particular row to this row, mi, and the second row to second row in this sheet 1, and the third row to third row in sheet 1. This is nothing but relationship. And why we have to go for data services? There are many features, because the data stored in data service is always secure. It can be accessed, queried, and manipulated by users who have prior permission. With permissions, user can access, delete, manipulate the data which is already available in data service. And it is also integrated with UiPath Studio and Robot, so it is easy to use your data from data service using APIs with any applications, and act as a central place to your data. Yes, it is stored in a cloud, so it is easy to access from anywhere to the cloud, and you can manipulate data, you can change the data. And we no need to store data in temporary random locations like text files, excels, or somewhere, and no need to have that risk, because we have the facility of data service. You can store the data in data service, and you can also store new and existing data. Even if you have the data already present in the particular entity, you can also add new data and also add existing data. And finally, the beauty of the data service, it is user friendly. A complete new user can easily understand how to create, manipulate, and delete data so quickly. So next, how we can use this data service in our projects, and how we can use in orchestrator manually. First thing we have to do is by creating a new entity in the data service. Before creating a new entity, you need to have a orchestrator account to you and connected to your bot, and then you need to enable the data service to your tenant, and then only you can create new entities. And you can also create the user defined number of fields based on the requirement, and we can also insert records and create relationship between two entities. We can create relationship between entities only we have entities present in prior. After that, records can be created, manipulated, queried both manually on data service or automatically by process execution from your studio. What I'm going to do now is in today's session we are going to see how we can create, manipulate, and change the data, delete the entities, create entities in data service manually. In the next session we are going to see how to do all these things by process execution. Activities, here are some activities that we can do, operate on data service from studio. Create entity record, delete entity record, get entity record by ID, query entity records, update entity record, delete file, download file, upload file. Here we can also upload a file to the particular record. We can delete the file and download the file of a particular record and upload a file to a particular record. First thing, create entity record. If you want to create a record using this activity, you can create a record by process execution from studio. You can also delete entity record by using the delete entity record, get entity record by id. You can get a record information by using id. Id is of GUID type, so by using id you can get the information about the particular id. This id is unique identifier, so each record has a unique id. So using this id we can retrieve the records from the data service, and we can also query records, what is the data exists in the data service, how many records present. We can also do all type of conditions and all that using query entity records. We can also update the particular record using update entity record, and after that we can also delete file present in particular record. We can download the record file of a particular record, and also upload the file to a particular record field. Where exactly we can use this data service? If you have a long running process that need data transfer between multiple process, then we can go use this data service go use this data service. What are the prerequisites you have to need before using data service? You need to have an account in Orchestrator. Only if you have an account in Orchestrator, you can use this data service and your UiPath Studio version must be 2020.10 or higher version, either in enterprise or community version. So keep in mind it should be 2020.10 or higher version, and data service must be enabled to for your tenant. Now I am going to show how we can create an entity and enable a data service to your tenant manually. Give me a second. If you see here, you can see apps but not data service. What we have to do is you have to go to admin and click on more applications, edit services, enable data service, and save. Let me refresh this page. Data service, you can see data service here. So I'm clicking on the data service. Since I have no entities present in my data service page, it is showing me to start create an entity by clicking on the button below. You can create an entity by clicking on plus button here, or you can create from here also. Let me create it from here. What I'm going to do is creating an entity using IPL. If you observe here, the display's name I have given underscore, but in the name field you cannot see any underscore here. If I give any space in display name, you cannot see IPL space entity in the name field, because this name field is generated by system. It is not going to allow any special characters or spaces in the name field, so we cannot see any special characters or spaces in the name field. Here we can give description also, and I'm going to hit on save. Yeah, if you see here, I have created my first entity, which is IPL entity. Name is IPL entity, and description is team space details. And if you see here, we have 5 default fields which are created when I create an entity. What are those files? Let's see. Here are the 5 default fields which will be generated when we create an entity. These are system defined entity fields which are generated automatically when we create an entity. Those are ID. ID is nothing but a unique identification number. For each record you will have an unique ID which is of GUID type, created by time, updated by, and update time. If you see here, these 5 fields, the system built-in fields, cannot be edited or deleted. We cannot edit or delete these fields. We cannot modify also. We cannot update also. What I'm going to do now here is I'm going to create data. Here, this is how we can create data for each field. Before doing that, I will create some more fields which are required to my requirement. So I'm going to do one. Here is season. If you see here, season name, text type, we can, if you see here, we have different types of set of data. We can choose text, number, yes or no. If it is a boolean value, we can choose yes or no. If it is of date time format, we can choose date time. If you want to create an relationship format, we can choose relationship. But if you want to choose relationship, we need to have an entity before only. Now it's a first entity. We cannot choose relationship right now. After creating another entity, we can choose this option, choice set. Choice set is nothing but enum or list in or studio. We can have a single variable and define multiple values to that variable. Like what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable weekday, and I'm going to assign multiple days names like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so on. And this is the file type. We can upload a file, delete a file, and download the file. These are the types we have. So let's create each field of this type. What I'm going to do is season of text type. Okay, I'm enable it as required field. If you don't give it as required field, even if you don't give any data, update any data in that particular field, that cause no problem at all. If you gave it as required and if you don't pass any data, then it will show an error. So keep in mind this. Maximum length 200. We can also give default value. We can change the maximum length also. You can also give 200 default value for that particular field, and we can also give description. If you see here, we created the season field. I'm going to create another field, team. It is also of test type, and keeping it as required and saving it. Okay, creating new field, and then next field is state required, save. If you see here, these 3 fields are of required type and text type. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create some sample fields. Okay, state ID. If you see here, no space allowed. I'm creating it as number required. If you go to more details, we can see maximum value. We can see minimum value. I'll give it as minimum value should be 0, and no decimal places allowed, so I'm keeping it as 0. And you can also give default value here, and description, and I'm saving it. I need to create another field called state participating. I'm assigning it to a some boolean value. I'm keeping it as required. If you go to more details, we can also give here default value yes or no, but I'm not going to do it now. We can also give description here. Let me add description. I'm saving it. I'm going to add datetime field now. If you see here, we have datetime variable. I'm going to hide. We can also hide the time field here. So I'm going to hide the time field and keeping it as required. And if you see more details, we can also choose the default date, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to hit on save. Okay. next what I'm going to do is we cannot create relationship right now. What I'm going to create is choice set. If weekday, week of day, I'm going to create a choice set. We have to weekdays. I have already created a weekdays, so what I'm going to do now is I'm creating a new variable again, week of a particular day. Okay, I'm going to give multiple choices here. We can give multiple choices. What I'm going to do is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and I'm going to save it. Now if you see, I've also created a choice set. Now I'm going to create a field of that type. Choice set. I'm going to choose the choice set, week of particular day. Just now I have created. I'm clicking on that. It is showing a checkbox like allow multiple selections. No, I'm not allowing multiple selections. You can also allow multiple selections to that variable. So we can, if you want to use that, then you have to check here. If you know, then don't check here. I'm checking it as required field. More details. If you go here, it is description. No, I'm not adding any description here. Then file type. If you want to add any file to that particular record, you have to create it as file type. So what I'm going to create is new file and of file type. If you go here, you can add a description, file attached to a particular field, particular record. I'm saving it. If you see here, I have created a user defined fields here, which is we can editable. We can edit. If you go edit, we can edit only the display name here. We can also change it to required or not required, but we cannot change the name which is generated by the system, and we cannot change the type also here. Once it is created, that's it. We cannot change the default name which is generated by system and the file type of the variable, but we can change the display name. We can change it and save. We can change it to required or non-required file. I'm saving it. We can, that's it. But we cannot change the system generated built-in fields or edit any fields. These are the fields we have created just now. Record fields, new file 1, season, state ID, state participating, team, weekday, year. These are the fields I have created. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add data. If you see here, click on the data and add new data. We can add data clicking on here, the below button, or from here also. What I'm going to do is clicking here, and it is showing all the user defined fields here. New file 1. If you want to upload a file from your local computer, then we can upload a file from here. I'm going to click. I'm going to upload an Excel file. I've uploaded season. What I'm going to do is giving it as IPL, state as Mumbai, state ID as 1, state participating, yes, Mumbai is participating, team as MI, weekday. If you see here, it is the choice set which we have created earlier. We can choose Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm choosing it as Sunday, and here we can also add here. But if you observe here, we can hide the time field. You cannot see the time just yet. I'm gonna save it now. Yeah, it got saved. If you see here, ID which is generated by system automatically. This is the season. IPL I have uploaded just now. MI Mumbai, state ID, and this is the file I have uploaded. This created by Raju Kodatala. These are generated by system automatically, and also we can, this is how we can create the data. Now what I'm going to show you guys is how to change the data. We can go directly to the field and we can edit MI. I'm changing it to MA. Here like this we can change the data. IP1 like this. Okay, if you see here, I'm going to empty the field state ID and save it. We cannot set the field to null because it is of required field. Yeah, its state ID is of not required field, so we can keep it as empty. If you see team, the value is required field. Value for this field is required, so we cannot keep this in field as empty, so we have to give something here. So I'm giving it here. This is how you can manipulate data in the orchestrator. And keep in mind that if you have a required field, you should be filling that required field. If it is empty, it's going to show you error. It don't allow you. This is how we can create, manipulate, and I'm going to add another data field here. Text as Hyderabad, state ID as 2, state participating yes, team name is SRH, weekday I'm going to give it as Saturday, and giving a particular date. And since it is a required field, we cannot save this. Once we upload a file to it, only then we can save it. We uploaded that field. Season is also of required field. We have to fill it. IPL. Now I'm going to hit on save. It got saved. Now if you see here, I have just created 2 records in our entity, first entity, which is of my team and SRH. What I'm going to show now here is how to delete a particular record in that particular entity manually. Just go, click on the ID here, check, and click on delete. Yes, you can go here and delete it directly. If you see here in our entity, there are 13 fields which we have created. 5 are among them 5 are system built-in fields and rest are user-defined fields. And the number of records, just now we have created 2, but I have deleted 1, so it is showing 1. That is how we can create, manipulate, and delete records. What I'm going to show now is how to create relationship between 2 entities. So that we have existing entities. So what I'm gonna do now is create a new entity to create a relationship between these 2 entities. So IP details. Okay. Second entity. I'm going to click on save. If you see here, these are the 5 system built-in fields. I'm going to add extra fields like one name. It is of number type. It's a required field. Since it is a number field, I'm going to give my minimum value as 0, decimal values as 0, and I'm gonna save it. And another field, gross number void, and I'm gonna give it as 0, decimal value is 0. Save. Then points number, required field, my minimum value is 0, decimal place is 0, and save. Then what I'm going to do, create another field to create a relationship between these two entities. So what I'm gonna do now is, okay, let's take team. I'm going to give it as relationship type, and after clicking on the relationship type we can see related entity here. So it is showing, after clicking on it, it's showing the entity which I have created earlier. If you have two entities created, then it will show you two entities. You can choose one of them, either of them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm choosing this IPL entity. Now it is showing related entity display field. You can choose any field that is present in the IPL entity. So what I'm going to take is I'm taking the unique field team. So I'm taking it as required, more details, description, save. What here we have just now created is 3 number type variables and 1 relationship type variable, which is nothing but team, and I'm going to add data for that. Add data. If you see here, loss 2.24 and team. If there is only one record present in our first entity, so it is showing only one record. So I am choosing it SRH 114 and I am going to save it. If you see here, this SRH, I have created relationship type between these two entities, team SRH. So we can clearly say that SRH has won 14, lost 2 matches and have 24 points. We can also edit these values. If they are not of required type, we can keep it as empty, else we can keep it as, it won't allow to keep it as empty. Now this is how we can create relationships between two entities. Now what I'm gonna do is, since we have seen how to create records, manipulate records, update records, upload files and all that, let's see how to delete these entities. So first what I'm going to do is IPL entity. I'm going here and you have to give the same name which you have created. So copying and pasting it here. Delete entity. All delete entity is still referenced by other entities. Since we have created a relationship type, we cannot create just like that. So we have to go and delete the relationship type variable first, then we can delete that particular entity. So I'm deleting that particular field now. Delete. Since I have deleted it, IPL details, Control C, Control V and delete. Now if you see here, I have deleted the particular entity which I have created earlier. This is how you can create entities, manipulate records, create records and update records. And keep in mind that if you have entities present in your orchestrated data service, then you can manipulate, create records from your studio. We cannot create an entity, cannot create a field from studio. Only we can create records, manipulate records, update and query, get records, but we cannot create fields or entities from studio. And we can also obviously upload the file, delete the file and download the file of particular record. That's it for today. And you can also keep in mind that data storage capabilities of this data service. For community version, you can store the data up to 100 MB and store attachments up to 500 MB, and you can use API calls thousands per day. And for enterprise, including trial version also, you have 1 GB of storing data capability and 5 GB of attachments and 10,000 API calls per day. So this is it for today. For the next session, we will see real use case how to create and manipulate these records by process execution from Studio. That's it for today. Thanks guys, thanks for joining us. Actually, one more thing to say, this channel is led by community members and monitored by our MVP Syed Pasha. If you can be next tutor here. If you have really cool stuff to share with, post it in comment section. Our team will reach out to you. Till then, bye bye.